Welcome.
Please welcome.
The Outdoor Project Podcast. Hear real conversations from industry leaders on the latest in the hardscape and landscape industry. Brought to you by Cincinnati's Landscape Supply. You're now streaming the Outdoor Project Podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the Outdoor Project Podcast. Today we're in a special place. We're in St. Charles, Illinois. I always thought it was just Chicago.
Well, it's a little outside Chicago, like an hour, I think.
Yeah, we're in Aquascape, sitting down with Richard Carroll from RC Outdoor.
What's up, boys?
I think they call it Aqualand.
Yeah, it's
it's
called
called
Aqualand.
Aqualand, Aquascape.
I just call it Chicago, too. It's all Chicagoland.
And you're from where?
South Bend, Indiana area.
Wow. Is that where the Hoosiers? What was the movie Hoosiers?
I was in Indiana.
It was somewhere around there?
South side of Indiana.
It's flat, a lot of flat land. That's what I remember about that movie for some reason.
It's all cornfields.
It's all cornfields.
I'm a transplant, so I don't know too much about Indiana, but I know they call us the Hoosiers.
I know you told us yesterday it's very flat.
Yeah.
That's all I know about
Boring.
I don't know much about geography, so I don't even know where it is on the map. But
I know Richard's
about 2 hours.
It's
originally
beside
from
Illinois.
Mississippi.
That's right.
Originally from Mississippi.
Southern boy.
Well, you made a few-hour trip out here for the Aquascape Academy. Have you learned anything in the past few days here, or what?
Yeah. So I'm actually really surprised at how much the business side they're really preaching here. I mean, I kind of came here with maybe the thought that they were going to really push water features, which they are. I mean, I'm here to learn how to market, sell it, build it, but learning how they sell their products. You know, you could take out the word water feature and insert like what we do. So we do outdoor living spaces. So he's trying to sell water features, but I mean, it's the same sales process. It's the same techniques. It's the same thing. Like they gave us this operations manual of how they run their business, you know, their contracts, their job descriptions, really in depth. So I wasn't really expecting that side of it. So I'm gaining, I guess, more confidence in my selling based on how they sell their products and how they can give that value and how they're able to get the prices that they get. So a lot of good stuff on that side. And I'm not 100% comfortable with water features, which is why I came here. I'm not so interested in the large scale, you know, ponds and streams and such.
More pondless, maybe.
Yeah.
Or
so I like the idea of like
features, right?
Yeah, like a half day job or a day job where we can include it, you know, with a patio job. So if we've got, let's say 800 square foot patio, we've got a kitchen and a fire pit. Well, let's throw in a water feature. And so I'm kind of here to learn how to do it, how to sell it, and hopefully try to push that in our outdoor living spaces. So we do a lot of with fire, with our fire pits, lighting, and I feel like water is that next element that's really like, it's like the icing on the cake, kind of like how lighting is. And so if I can just get as much information as I can about everything in the scope of outdoor living, I feel like I can really push and create more of an effective design. So here to learn the ins and outs of the water world, I guess, and
I guess that's why they call it Aqualand.
It's amazing here.
It is. It's amazing.
You walk in bam, there's all these different water features. You got pondless waterfalls. You got it all.
Turtles.
Here, which is,
iguanas.
turtles.
I know.
Lizards.
Cincinnati's Landscape Supply, too, we sell, we love this whole theme of natural. So we sell a lot of boulders, natural stones, and then fire, water. So I can understand why you would want to add that extra natural feature into your designs, because it does bring a kind of another element to a design that I think customers are really looking for.
It's just a nice upsell, I think. I mean, you do outstanding work from what we've seen on your social media and from others talking about you. But I think I've seen in a few of your pictures, you've already added a few urns, some stacked slate spheres. That's a tongue twister. Hopefully I can say that correct.
It is. Even spears.
Spears.
Spears. I don't know.
Sphere.
I don't know.
Chris got it wrong in class. That's why he's trying to make up
Tongue
for it right
twister.
now.
I think I landed it the first time, though. So
Yeah,
we've seen you do a few of those, and they're pretty easy installation-wise.
Yeah, I mean, it's really just you're excavating a box out of the ground. You're sticking a box, they're big, I don't know what they call them,
Aqua basins.
Yeah, the aqua basins.
Yeah. So the
yeah.
first time we sold one, and we just went on a whim and did it. I mean, we built the patio for the first time just on a whim. You just take your time. I mean, as long as you're digging out that area, you're leveling it out, put your aqua basin in its level. I mean, it's a pretty simple process.
So simple,
you put the spear
on the basin.
Spear on the basin.
Yeah.
Actually, the hardest part was actually making the spear level. Because if you kind of push it around, it's actually pretty light.
You want that water to evenly come off that.
And we were talking about pricing, which I know you like because it's like in Aquascape they have a certain price. So when you go in and you wanna install that sphere with everything, you know in your head how long it's going to take. You know what the product, and you do that every day. So you go into another design and want to put a sphere or another bubbling rock or something like that. You know how long it's going to take. You know what the product costs. So, you know what to charge day in and day out for these things. And I think Aquascapes brings that to the table, like you said, where you can do that for your patios too. So if you're doing 1,000 square foot patio with your basic design, lighting, planting, and stuff like that, knowing your numbers is so important, and I think Aquascape does a great job here with teaching you that, just with water features.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they're streamlining their entire process. I'd love to be able to throw in, hey, lighting is going to be X amount, water feature is going to be X amount. They've already given us kind of rough numbers of what to charge.
Yep.
And once we do a couple, we kind of see what our numbers are and how much it costs for us to install it. And then we can change our numbers back and forth based on that.
Yeah, plus I think it gives you a little bit of identity to be different. And I know we talked about last night was your key to your success was to be a little bit different from your other maybe competitors. And I think there's one thing, and we talked about this yesterday, that, Unilock was kind of your main go-to before, but you made a transition that I think you've grown from. And can you explain that a little bit? What maybe you made a change in suppliers or manufacturers?
So before I started my business, I was a landscape designer at a company in our area, and Chicago is a huge area of Unilock. So we're only a couple hours from Chicago. So really, I mean, that pretty large radius around Chicago, most of those guys are pushing Unilock. And as a designer with my former company, I was pushing Unilock because that was kind of what we knew. And
Great
I feel
product, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's good stuff. And I feel like as landscapers, we get stuck in a rut. I feel like we get stuck, maybe not a rut's the right word, but we're so used to using the same things. We
almost in habit.
Yeah,
we
become habitually
stagnant.
use the same stuff. And so I knew when I went into business, I wanted to be different. I felt like if I was going to go into business, if I was going to be successful, I had to stand out. I was reading on some books, and they really pushed to kind of get rich in a niche. I haven't gotten rich yet, but that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm trying
You
to.
got your niche.
That'd be nice. Yeah. So, what better opportunity than to go into a homeowner, and they've already got a Unilock catalog on their coffee table, to bring in a Teco block, because they've seen Unilock. The homeowners have seen Unilock. They've seen the catalogs. I'm bringing in Teco block, and I'm like, oh, so we can do a modern approach. We could do contemporary. We could do rustic. We could do traditional. I mean, we could do so many different things with Teco block. And from a designer, I feel like I can be more creative with Teco blocks, wide variety of products. So once I started pushing Teco more and learning their products is when my brain just kind of like ticked. I was just so excited about their stuff they had and what I could do with it. So that's really why I'm pushing Teco, and I think their prices are good. Yep. I mean, where we're at, Unilock's a little bit higher, or a good bit higher. So it's customer friendly as far as pricing. Gotten a lot of good support from Teco Block, like on Instagram and Facebook. So that helps,
Yeah, looking at your Instagram, we talk about it all the time. There's a few jobs lately too, is like using the Antica, and I think it was right around the fire pit, and then you did that one project with the big, you had the fire pit and the
squadra trail leading to it.
Yeah. So
I mean, how many cuts did you have for that?
That was crazy.
I don't know. Hundreds, thousands.
How many days did that take you to make all those cuts on the squadra? I mean, anyone out there doesn't know squadra, they're little 3x3 pieces. Yep. I mean, how big was that swooping area?
As far as linear feet, man, I don't know. I would probably say 15, probably over 100 linear feet, probably more than that. And so we had two guys. We had a guy marking, and we had a guy cutting. We had a table saw, IQ saw, lowered it to the ground. So we're on our hands and knees, marking, passing off, cutting, marking, cutting. So, and that's why I did that, because I don't think anybody else would want to try that, right? I mean, that's not very labor efficient as far as laying your pavers. So I want to try something different, try to be unique, and that's really my big push as far as how I want to go with my business.
Do you prefer doing bigger projects like that with the fire pits, the sitting walls, the outdoor kitchens, or do you prefer that steady income of doing the smaller projects that are 1 to 4 days?
Right. So I learned that doing this large project that I like small projects. So many different reasons went into that, but I mean, I'm a small company. It's me plus 2 guys. So if we do a 2 to 3 month project, I'm not getting that final check until 2 to 3 months later. And that's tough when I'm trying to continually
pay your suppliers, your bills.
Yeah, pay my bills and feed the family. And you just, with bigger jobs, you run into more issues, which maybe you could run into 1 or 2 issues on a small job. When you're on a big job, you run into 4 or 5 or 6 issues. And I don't think that we're set up as a company to do large projects. I mean, we've got 3 employees, including myself. We don't have a lot of large machinery. And a lot of it is just taking the toll on us. I mean, it's tough to have to go to the same house every day, day in and day out for 12 weeks in a row. And that really takes a toll on you. And I think if I had more employees, maybe if I had more equipment, we could push that large scale projects. But man, I like the in and out in 2 to 3 weeks. That would be where I'd want to go at this point.
And you said you started your project or your construction company about 1.5 years ago.
Yeah.
So you're not new to the industry, but you're new to starting your own business and running your own show.
Right. Yeah, so I started 1.5 years ago, and I had some landscape design experience. And I actually went to school, studied landscape design and construction, but I don't think that really set me up to where I'm at now. It just kind of set my mind up where I wanted to go in my career as far as landscaping goes. But yeah, just 1.5 years in, and it's been tough. I mean, I didn't know the business side until I got into it and started learning the hard way that way. And I've made some good connections on social media with guys who have been pretty successful in the business. So that's helped me to reach out to those guys. And, like Greg, if y'all were in the class this morning, he was talking about how he became successful. And it was like, I found somebody who was doing what I want to do, and I asked him how he did it.
Yeah.
And that's
a great
pretty much
start.
what I've been. Yeah, like that's me.
He's
like,
right though.
Oh, absolutely, man. Talk to those guys who've been in it, who were smarter than you. Like, don't be afraid to ask. I've been asking tons and tons of questions because these guys have learned it the hard way. I'm trying to cut back on learning the hard way.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing we see, and especially guys that we've talked to, the biggest part of owning your own business and being successful is knowing your numbers, knowing every single number that's coming in and out of that company. I mean, are you trying to use that tactic in your business? So
it's like, how do you know how to go into business without going into business, right? So how do you know your numbers once you jump in? How do you know how much you should be charging? So the first half year I went in, I mean, I was spending a lot of time on my numbers, knew how much I was charging. So I knew if that was the last job that I took on, I knew I'd be okay for X number of weeks. So I really haven't officially known how much it cost to be in business until just a couple of months ago when December came in. I knew how much, because I went a full year for the first time from January to December. I knew how much my insurance was per year. So I knew of my budget. I knew what amounts were in there. And so now I would say 1.5 years in, I finally know my true cost and what I should be charging. But I think once you're new in business,
you got to learn that.
Yeah.
It's part of the learning process you're going through right now.
Absolutely, yeah. So I've charged a lot less than I probably should, but you don't learn that until you've been through it, until you go through it. And so now I would say I'm on the right track. There's this funny saying, it's Pachysandra is a ground cover. And I hope I get this right, but it's like the first year it sleeps, second year it creeps, and the third year it leaps. Yeah. So I'm trying to say this is my third season in, so I'm going to try to make huge leaps and bounds in my business because I've slept and I've crept, and now I know how it's going to go. So
it looks like you're taking the initiative. I mean, just being able to come to these shows, and I've seen on your stories that you've been to other shows and different things around the country. So it looks like you're really taking the initiative to step up for this third year.
Yeah,
right.
Social media too. You're on social media a lot. I think that
just a little bit.
Yeah, that helps. I think with your growth. I mean, I just you see some of these guys like Sean from Premiere and stuff that I know you look up to too. But maybe you can't be on social media as much as he is. But what you've been doing has been beneficial to your company. I can tell.
Yeah, and I think that I'm where I'm at. Honestly, I'm where I'm at because of social media. Like, I would not be sitting here if it weren't for social media. I wouldn't know about TechoBlock if it wasn't on social media. And I feel like a lot of the guys that are on the gram have inspired me to design the way I design. And a lot of the guys, the way they do business, have inspired me to do business the way they have. So it's crazy to think, 5 or 10 years ago, guys were in business and learning things really the hard way, because you can't really contact somebody like in my market and be like, hey, how much you charging for your patios? Or, what's your contract like? You can ask these guys, like you can ask Sean, hey, what's on your contract? How much you charging? Yeah. Like, to really advance yourself. And I mean, I would say in the past year, I've probably gained at least 5 or 6 years of knowledge just by having connections on Instagram, calling those guys up, asking them questions, because I'm 36 years old. I didn't start out when I was 15 years old. I don't have a lot of time to go through those bumps and bruises and speed bumps to get where I want to be. So just ask a bunch of questions. That's what I've been doing.
I think, too, just looking at your designs on social media, whether it be Instagram, I think just looking at outside, looking in, a lot of your success is your designs. And I know you said you started off as a landscape designer, and I know we've discussed a little bit, and I really liked your dreams to reality. So you would put up a post of the dream would be your design, right? Mm-hmm. And the reality is the after picture. So you take your design that you design and then the after picture, and how much they resemble each other is amazing. So that part of your portfolio, I say, in the next year or two, really sells your jobs going forward.
Right, and that's been my key. I mean, I feel like if you're not really pushing 3D designs, if you're not doing 3D designs, or if you're not paying somebody to do that for you, you're really missing the boat. And there's a lot of guys who are still doing it on napkins and are still doing it on cardboard or just drawing it out in their yard. And I feel like when I can present a 3-dimensional design to somebody, that's my favorite part. To bring my laptop, set it on the table, hit play, and step back and watch them. Because I spend a lot of time on my designs. Like, it's going to look exactly like the design is. And I put people in there, build the house as close as possible. So I hit play, sit back, and just watch them. And once they're smiling and they look at each other and like, Bob, do you see this? Like, this is what
sells it.
Then the job is sold, man. So, yeah, and that's been huge for me. And so we truly. So when I design, I usually do 3 different options. Maybe I'll cut back on this year, but I usually go in with a kind of a simple design, something basic. Maybe option 2 is maybe just a step up from basic, and number 3 is like what I want to build. This is my favorite, and it's outside the box, and it's actually been surprising that customers are going more with something that's unique and special, and that's been big for me.
The 3D designs is key because, maybe you want to do these crazy designs. Say you don't have this 3D program. Most of the time, your customer is probably not going to want to do this project because they can't envision what you're envisioning in your head. You're a designer. They're just a typical homeowner that doesn't know really what's going on, what product or how it's getting installed. So by you being able to put that in front of them and basically just picture and see it right in front of them, what you're doing, I think it makes it easier for you to sell that project and get that design sold.
Absolutely.
I think from these podcasts I've learned, and we sat down with Charles Sr. from Cambridge, and he always, he does focus groups, and he always says she, you know what I mean? And with those designs that you do, it makes it easier for her to see what's really good. You know what I mean? She really makes that decision.
Exactly.
Whether she pays for it or he pays for it, really doesn't matter, but she wants to see it.
Right.
And the 3D designs are important for that.
Oh, absolutely.
And you do a great job at it. But I do have a question. You're a father, a husband. You have a 3-year-old, just turned 3, right? Happy birthday.
2 days ago, yeah.
And you have a son that's...
He's 10 months.
Yeah, so he's... Wow. So you got a whole family. You're a designer.
Yep. Laborer, a foreman.
Yeah, social media. How do you handle it all?
Social media mogul.
And you're learning being this young, you know what I mean?
Right.
So what advice do you got to these new guys starting out, and there's just so much on the plate. How do you handle it all?
It's tough. It's my wife has a busy job. She's an assistant principal, so she works, 10, 12 hours a day as well. So it definitely hasn't been easy. I've definitely probably gained a couple hundred gray hairs. I've gained a little bit of weight here and there, and it's tough. But man, it's first and foremost, I want to be like the best dad. I want to be a great husband. So I really, it's hard. It's hard to come home and just like turn off like landscape mode. Because if I told you how many hours I spend a day thinking about ridiculous inlays, like it would be totally embarrassing. So I'm always thinking about some creative stuff or just what I'm going to do the next day. But I'd really try to come home, shut that stuff off, and just spend time with my kids because they're my life. This is why I'm doing it. Yeah. Fortunately, I don't work winters, so I get 3 months to spend with my kids, hang with them, see them grow up. So that's been really enjoyable. What advice would I give somebody? I think you just do it. When you become a father for the first time, it's like you just do it. You keep the babies alive and you feed them and you put them to bed. And that's just
what other choice do you have?
Right. So it's all about prioritizing things. And I could literally talk 24 hours about what I do. I love what I do. Yeah. I'm super passionate about it. My wife doesn't care as much as about inlays or squadra or, babe, I'm going to put this West mount up against this Villaggio, and the Villaggio is a quarter of an inch smaller, and I'm just like, all right, sorry, I'll stop with that stuff. Yeah, it's tough, but you just do it. You just figure out how to do it. And
I think you got to blame the catalogs, man. Who came up with all these inlays, right? But I must say though, Techo Block with that Antica saves a lot of time with cutting. There's certain products that might take that little bit of ease off your mind at night, and I think Antica does a good job with that.
So I'm actually pushing towards more labor efficient inlays this year. Our first job of the year is Antica, so we're going to make our cuts, fill in behind it with Villaggio, and then put Antica in the middle.
Yeah, so you can still do inlays in different colors, but still be conscious of your labor and your labor rate in your designs.
Right, or may even have like an inlay option too, where we could do something really special, but it's going to cost you an extra X amount to do that. So we're really trying to cut back on labor this year. We're trying to fit in more projects. Like I said, I've learned that by doing it the hard way, by spending 7 days of cutting squadra,
So you're a year and a half into your business. You've already really done a lot of work in the hardscape industry with your outdoor kitchens, fireplaces, walls. Really, you've done a lot. Is there any other things you'd like to get into? Decking, pergolas? Have you done pergolas?
So we did one pergola last year. It was a pergola kit, and it was vinyl. Mm-hmm. But as far as adding new services, I would love to be able to push composite decks. And I think the profit margins are still there for decks. And, like we mentioned Sean earlier, he's doing a deck and he's doing a patio. There's nobody in my area that can, one team's going to go in and build that deck and build that patio. They're either subbing that out, where it's going to maybe even more than what I'm charging. So we're going to add that. We're going to see how that goes. I'm still trying to figure out what my identity is, what we are as RC Outdoor. So we're going to try that out. Got a couple pergolas on the books as well and see how that goes.
I think the decking, it's kind of an oxymoron to us. We talked about it with Sean from Premier, but, we don't sell any decking. It might be something that we look into. But, again, what I said was we sell boulders, we sell lighting, we sell water features, we sell a lot of burners for, all your fire pits and stuff like that. I think the decking just adds another texture or another element to your design that I think is just going to drive you. And I think it's a start of a new trend. And I think as you started, I think you want to dive into it, and I think it's a good idea.
Right, and honestly, the main reason I'm really pushing decking is I want to extend my season later into the year. I have no desire to do any snow plowing. I have no desire to do any sort of interior work. I'm not going to push something I'm not passionate about because it's not going to go in. I don't want to just push snowing because it's going to make us money in the winter. So if we can add 2 more months of our year with decking, then yeah, we're going to do decking. Hey, we can do decking in November, December, January, maybe February.
Yeah.
So if we can do that and then continue to make more money into the year, because I think 8 to 9 months is a little. I'd rather work a little more than that. I love being home with my kids, but it's tough for me to work 60 hours a week to just literally doing nothing in the winter except, raising my kids, which don't get me wrong, love my kids. But if we can maybe have it where we're off 1 month in the winter, that's a little better for me than having like 3 or 4 months off.
Yeah, and that thing about plowing, and everybody plow. Yeah, you cringe when you say plowing. I know a lot of our guys in Rochester, New York, and Geneva location, I know a lot of them plow, and they sacrifice a lot of time. You can't go on, vacations or because you're waiting for that snow to fall.
Right, and they feel forced to plow because what else are you going to do in the winter?
Yeah.
For a lot of these guys, that's their moneymaker. The winter season, salting and plowing, that's when they're making their best money.
But I think I would rather put in some decks and then take a month off where you're not going to have to plow.
If it snows, like what about this year? Like we've had maybe 15, 20 inches and we averaged 70. So those guys are putting money into their machinery and their salt sitting there. I mean,
ruining their trucks. I mean, you could justify it if you're making enough money and you're cycling through these vehicles and equipment every few years. I mean, that's really the only time it's worth it. But, I mean, you get guys that are night owls that don't mind being up all night plowing. So, for us, it's like, geez.
Yeah, but I think Richard's got a great idea. His focus is not to plow.
Yeah.
So, how do you make enough money in that
summertime
on season? You know what I mean? If it is decking or if it's just your price structures. Again, you're young at the construction business, but if you can learn how to price structure and be able to carry that through the winter season, I think you're so much better off.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think it's going to be a little bit less struggle on the family, and I just wish more guys would do that. You know what I mean? How can you get 8 months and be able to sit on 4 months and have enough money? Is it possible? It is possible.
It's just a never-ending cycle. I mean, you're making all that money in the summer, and it's like, man, I could sit around, but now I'm blowing through all my funds that I just saved that summer. It's
in the winter.
It's a never-ending cycle where maybe you do jump in a plow truck and you're not losing money and you're able to maintain that money.
Well, I think it's an option for a lot of guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if you didn't have to have that option and you can make that excess money in the summer where you didn't have to, I think for me it would be the best idea.
I think guys are scared. I mean, I think Sean mentioned on his podcast, I think guys are just scared to do something different, whereas, hey, we just put pool coping on for the first time this year. Like, we figured out how to do it.
Yeah.
We built a pergola for the first time this year. We just figured out how to do it, so why not build a stinking deck, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
or a
it's
water
not that
feature.
much harder, right?
Yeah.
Right.
YouTube's one heck of a resource. I mean, if you want to know how to do something, YouTube's right at your fingertips.
Absolutely.
It's on your phone.
And I think as a young businessman and a lot of this, especially with the labor rate, we're selling a lot more tools and guys are buying a lot more equipment because the product's getting heavier and heavier. And then there's no labor. There's no labor out there. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, what do you do going forward? And again, trying to price your jobs, trying to price it a little bit easier. We talked a little bit about labor rate last night and making things simple so you can get in and out of jobs and you're not spending a ton of money on your labor. So
exactly.
It's so difficult right now.
So really, kind of going into labor, we can push kind of what we're doing with Gator Base. So we're going to be pushing Gator Base on our jobs because we can get done faster with less people. So we don't have to come in with an any excavator. We don't have to come in with a skid steer. We currently own just a mini skid steer ditch witch, and that's it, in a dump trailer. So if we can come in, so we're going to actually purchase a sod cutter. We're going to come in, set that blade where it's actually going to cut 3 to 4 inches, slice that out, bring in our ditch witch, scoop up the dirt and the grass, throw in the back of the dump trailer. So once that's done, we're compacting the dirt. We're putting our geotextile and we're putting our limestone chips. We're laying that Gator Base, and we're laying pavers in no time. And so, and my thought is maybe we don't have to buy that skid steer. Maybe we don't have to spend that $70,000 on a mini excavator where we can really pump out patios with what we have right now. And do that with 3 guys. So it's a system that I've been looking into for the past year. I've literally contacted almost 100 people, like asking. I wanted to know what was bad about it. I wanted to know who had any failures, and I literally found nothing, no failures. Nobody had any issues with it. It was just guys saying, "Hey, you should really do it." We've been doing it. There's a guy in Ottawa, I can't remember his name, but he's been doing it for the past 6 years. He's installed over 60 patios on Gator Base, and with no failures. And I get a lot of comments on Instagram like, I can't believe you're going to do this. This is ridiculous. But those are those guys who are stubborn, who kind of stuck in the old way of doing things. And I'm willing to give it a shot. I believe in it. I've talked to Jeff Cunningham, I think, with Alliance about it. And so we feel pretty confident about moving forward that way. And I think it's going to cut so much time. So I've done the math, and I think we're actually going to save about 5 weeks of labor, so we can fit in 5 more weeks of work, and we can work further into the season, and we can start a little bit earlier. We're not having to, take so much dirt out of a backyard and bring so much stone in when it's wet and it's muddy in March and April. So we're going to give it a shot. I think it's going to work for us, though.
It's all about efficiency. I mean, you mentioned your ditch witch, your dump trailer. You're able to pull up to this job site. Obviously, you got your employees, but you got your pickup truck, you got your dump trailer, and your ditch witch probably right in the dump trailer, right?
Right.
I mean, you have this patio, 500-600 square foot, dog, stone, and gator base, and you're ready to probably lay that same exact day.
Right.
That's where the efficiency comes in, and you get in, you get out, you do a great job, obviously, and you get paid. That's the key to any business, I think.
Right. So we're going to push it. And like I said, we don't know what our identity is. We're also going to push decks. But I'm thinking if we can do a deck and a patio on the same project, I don't have to spend an extra $200K on a dump truck and a mini X and a skid steer. So we're going to see how it works. I'm not quite sure. I don't think anybody has a business model that's been doing that except for maybe Sean we mentioned earlier. But I would love to have the big tools and equipment, but I don't want to spend $200,000 like that. That hurts me just saying that.
Yeah.
Having to spend that much money.
If you could stay small, we've seen a lot of guys, and we've done podcasts with guys that were small, tried to get big, failed, and ended up being success. But I guess you have to go through failure to do something. But if you wanted to stay small, I think it's fine, because I think you're headed in the right direction. We're going to do a podcast with Alliance up in Montreal. And what they said to us, obviously they sell a lot of poly sand, which there's a lot of questions on poly sand, and we talked about that last night as well. But their biggest, their biggest push this year is gator base and the efficiencies and the shortage of labor. Again, we talked about that. So I think you're headed in the right direction. I think you're making the right choices. You know what I mean? For us, we sell gator base, and we've noticed that over the last years it's getting more and more popular. So your base is approximately, let's say, to the contractors, $2.50 a square foot, Yeah. But there's a cost to it. There's a cost to stone, but you save on labor.
And we're actually going to charge the same. So we're not charging more for gator base. I mean, I figured it out in the cost of labor and the cost of not having to use machinery and wear and tear on my truck and trailers. We're going to charge the same amount. So once we get going in the year, we've done maybe 3 or 4 patios with gator base, then we can do some job costing numbers and see where we're at. I don't see why we would have to charge any more, because it is an expensive product.
Yeah.
But there's so much advantages to using it that people aren't even thinking about,
Yeah, we've seen people using it like in tight spaces. Now they're expanding, saying, tight spaces are not. I'm going to use gator base.
Right.
I'm going to use it. It's a viable product. I don't know if ICPI or anybody has any, testing on it or anything, and they probably don't, but we've been selling it for 4 years, and like you said, we haven't had an issue on any of these projects with gator base.
Have you heard of any horror stories with gator base?
Zero,
right?
Yeah, I mean, I get messages from time. I did a bunch of stories on gator base, and I get random messages, but I think it's the guys that are just kind of stuck in their ways. Like, we went and bid on a job, and it was a gator-based job, and it was all screwed up. And I'm like, I messaged back, like, hey, do you think that was a contractor error or a gator-based error? And he's like, I don't really know. But you could have errors on whatever base you're installing on. Just because it was a failure on gator base doesn't mean it was the gator base's fault. And I'm not sticking up for gator base. I just feel like there's so many errors you could do on a traditional base. So I literally haven't found any legit failures on it, which is kind of surprising, because it's hard, right, to think that stuff might work. Like, I've been skeptical for years. I'm sure y'all have been as well. Yeah. And the fact that I call them like playmats. That playmats could actually save so much time.
I'm not gonna lie. It works. I wasn't really a believer in it, but I mean, sitting down with you, I've talked to a few other guys that have used it, and they're saying the same thing as you. I mean, why not utilize it if it's working? And efficiency. Efficiency is huge. That's the key word in this whole thing.
And I think not just efficiency. I think people are scared if it isn't certified. And again, it's ICPI. Everybody, I guess swears by ICPI and all their standards, which, kind of got us to where we are now. You know what I mean? But things are changing. Just think about it. Think about what Teco does with open grade systems. They were the first ones to kind of introduce this. I mean, it's been going on for years, but as a manufacturer, they were the first ones to kind of bring in open grade systems. So things are changing. That's not even an ICPI standard,
It's not, no.
It's a hybrid system that isn't proven, and people are jumping into it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And the labor, why not dive into this gator base? I don't know, but somebody has to, and somebody's got to take that chance. Guys have over the last 3-4 years. We haven't had a failure yet, but I do think it's a viable product, and we'll hear more about it at the Alliance podcast and what they have to say about it, and maybe proven history with their product. But really, this is something this year. Their push and their money towards gator base is huge.
Alliance wouldn't be investing so much money and resources into it if they didn't believe in gator base. I mean, why would you invest so much time and money? I mean, they must know something that we don't know.
Yeah, because they're putting a lot of marketing dollars into this. I mean, you think about everything you're hearing about is gator base this and gator base that, and they're going to all these trade shows. And yeah, I'm a believer.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes. Yeah.
So besides gator base, what do you think for 2020? What's going to be your? I mean, obviously we talked about Teco Block. Kind of staying with Teco Block. Anything new that we're going to see from you in 2020 that we haven't seen?
I think, like I said before, I'm really trying to cut back on labor, so I might not do as crazy inlays. I mean, we like to save. I like to save on labor as much as we can. So we're still going to do some crazy stuff. Like to me, like I don't mind going and building a 15 by 10 patio. Let's say blue 60 with a Villaggio border. Like if that's what a customer wants, and that's what we'll give them. But like, I love more than anything to just have something in my mind, get it in the 3D design, show it to a customer, and be able to build something that's truly unique. That's what I'm passionate about. That's what makes me tick, man. That's what makes me happy. So we're gonna still keep doing stuff. I mean, I literally think about inlays like. Telling you at least 12, 15 hours a day. So I have this sketchbook, and also if I get this image, I'm like, I got to write this down. So I've got a sketchbook with probably 15, 20 inlays of just ideas that might, I would love to happen in the coming years. So
first year and a half, you've bit the bullet. You've done inlays, and you probably lost a little money doing inlays. Going forward, we talked about it a little bit last night. If they want some serious inlays, they're going to have to pay for it.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, what are you gonna do if this 2020 you get a customer that says, "I want that Squadra inlay they did. I want it double the size." You're gonna tell them,
"No, we would absolutely do it." I mean, we would. I mean, there's going to be a cost to it, and like I said, I know how long it took us to make those cuts.
Right.
My guys aren't going to be happy. Like they still have nightmares of cutting. We probably had 6 pallets of Squadra on that, not on that inlay, but on that total job. That's a lot of Squadra.
Yeah.
And there's like, 1,000 per pallet. I mean,
yeah,
I know. A lot.
I know when
our yard guys have to pull it by the layers, so they
shout
know
out
they can
to
tell
those
us.
guys. They were giving me a stink eye when I was telling Joel that we want to bring Squadra in because I was seeing it in the Teco displays, I was seeing it in the catalogs, I seen it a little bit online, but I'm like, man, this stuff is really gonna take off. I think it really is such a cool product for inlays. And when we got the spec book on it, there's like 250 pieces or 100. So I don't know the exact number, but per layer. And they're like, "Are you kidding me? You're gonna go out and pull that when you sell that."
But we said, we put it in the display, and we're like, we got a year though. We're gonna put it in the display. We got a year. It'll get popular. Now the guys are, we're ordering more and more of it, and the yard guys are like, "Oh man, why did we put that?"
I just want to tell Tommy, "I told you so."
That stuff's like big in Europe. I feel like Teco's bring a lot of that stuff in Europe that's really big. And if you go to, I haven't been to Europe. I've seen pictures, but a lot of those roads and sidewalks have those 3x3 squares, all down their pathways. And so, it makes its way to Canada, and then it goes down south into the States. And I think that's one of the reasons I like Teco, because they're bringing out so many different like creative inlay options. Like, yeah, Blue 60 we can lay down as our field. We can do some para as our field pavers or do some slabs, but
They got the diamond one now that just came out too, which is cool.
that's
I've
crazy.
seen it.
So diamond's almost 4 inches thick, and your Blue 60 is like 2.5,
2 and 3/8.
So the regrading again.
We've done that stuff before. We had West Mount, so West Mount's like 3 1/4 inch. Your Blue 60, 2.5. So we were 3/4 of an inch higher with the West Mount.
Yeah.
But like I said, nobody's doing that. Like,
You were used to that with Unilock because Unilock had a lot of different heights too,
right,
with their pavers. I mean, their Beacon Hill was different from their Town Hall, or
they weren't making 4-inch pavers. 4 inch, but that's for driveways.
It's more commercial grade, I think, is what they made this for. I remember talking to Sean from Teco. 4 inches. That's a thick paver.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I think they do keep coming out with new things. And I know we talked a little bit about last night was, using concrete caps and switching to natural stone caps. Again, at Sensenix, we sell a lot of natural stone. So especially our contractors locally are using all natural stone for caps. And kind of, we had some issues with some wet cast products and, with the fading and kind of the bleeding and stuff like that. So the natural stone has really solved that for us as a distributor and, for the contractors. So if you have finished ends and you need to rock an end or something, wet cast, you can't do that. It leaves the aggregate or whatever. So we talked about that. That might be something new that you might be trying for 2020.
Yeah, so we always push natural stone like for our kitchens. Like, I feel like granite in our area is not big. I don't know why. Maybe in y'all's market it's probably big because there's a lot of granite in your area, but people like that natural stone. So we've been pushing that for our countertops. And if we're doing the kitchen, we're also doing a fire pit. Well, let's cap that fire pit with the same stone. We usually have a seat wall. We're going to cap that seat wall with natural stone in most cases. So, I mean, we've used wet cast before, but I'd really like to, like you said, we're going to put in some decking that's going to look nice with concrete pavers. Let's do some natural stone in there as well. I think everything just ties in and really helping the design come more to life than concrete caps.
Yeah, we noticed it over the last years how natural stone, almost for us, over 1 year from 18 to 19, doubled in sales. So I think you're headed in the right direction, especially with everything we talked about today. Being a young company, I just feel like you can be a positive role model for anybody that's starting now and taking those steps and making those right decisions to make money at the end of the day.
And that's why we bring guys on like you. I mean, yeah, you're a year and a half. You probably haven't gone through all the hard times yet, but guys are afraid to sometimes take that leap into going on their own. I mean, there's a lot of, maybe it's all sounds fine and dandy. We're sitting here talking to you, but there's a lot of stuff that can go wrong and will go wrong. There's no doubt over time. You just got to keep that positive mindset and just keep chugging along.
Yeah, I mean, you just have to do it. I mean, I get asked all the time, like, well, how did you get jobs? And I'm like, you just tell people, like, what, you have no money, so think about how you're going to market to people. You're going to tell your buddy, and you're going to go to church, you're going to tell your pastor, or you're going to tell, the guy beside you in the pew, or you're going to go to school to pick up your kids, you're going to tell, like, don't be weird about it, but, like, you got to get your name out somehow. And that's just kind of what I did when I started. I had some contacts, and they told their contacts, and then when you do a patio or somebody wants a kitchen, like, you're not going to know how to build a kitchen until you build a kitchen. So as long as you're studying it, you're learning it, you're taking your time, there's no reason you can't build a kitchen or a patio or a water feature, And so, like, with me, there's this really corny saying that I discovered a couple of years ago, and it said, believe in yourself. If cauliflower can become pizza, then you can do anything you want. And I feel like I'm the cauliflower, and it's so corny, but, like, think about it. Like, how would you feel if you were cauliflower and you became pizza? Like, that's pretty amazing. Y'all are pizza snobs, right? I mean, you love pizza.
We love pizza. Well, we come from New York, Rochester, New York, which is, Andy, he's going to watch this and say Buffalo's a little bit better than Rochester, but
he's full of it.
We come from like a pizza heaven. And I must say, I haven't had cauliflower pizza, but I've had cauliflower buffalo. I don't know if you say wings because they're not wings, but it was so delicious. It was so delicious.
in your case, cauliflower became buffalo wings.
Chicken
And the biggest
wings.
thing is it's gluten free, right? So
Sounds
for all you
awful.
gluten free people out there,
You know what the best thing about that
Try it.
story is, though, and we can end this too, because this is Aquascape. We're in Aqualand right now, and Greg's story, and he's, you know, somebody you can really look up to as a businessman. He started with 5 projects. He started 2 just for marketing. You know, that cost came out of his pocket.
Mm-hmm.
The next 3 projects were people that saw it and spread the word. His 2 projects went to 5. 5 went to 102. You know what I mean? Just kept growing and growing. The best advertising, you're doing a great job advertising on social media, and you need to, you know what I mean? But your best advertising, just like you said, and how you started was word of mouth.
Yep, that's how I started. And I mean, literally, we did 5 projects our first year, and you know, people kept telling somebody, and then somebody told somebody. I mean, I've looked into paid marketing. I just don't know enough about that side to really push it. But I mean, word of mouth is really your best bet.
Yeah, I think we've learned, and Ben's a genius at marketing too, and we've really saved a lot of money. We do less TV, we do less radio, do more social media. The cost of it, you can afford it. It just takes a little bit of time to get on your phone and keep a lot of time.
It's free.
It's pretty much free.
free marketing. You're crazy not to be on it.
Right.
I know we keep beating a dead horse, but
Yeah,
probably not right to say. But I mean, why not get on Instagram and Facebook? It's free advertisement.
And that's the only reason I push it. And I've been pushing because I have time. I haven't done a lot of projects. So I mean, I went from 0 to 4,000 followers in about a year, you know, but I think that catches people's eye when we're doing something different. And so I don't know how many people in my area actually follow me. Yeah. I'm doing it more just to build my portfolio. I can show it to a customer and be like, hey, these are the jobs that we've done. These are the stories. These are the videos, and really use that as more of my website than anything to show customers. And I actually am finding people who are contacting me, who are in my area. Hey, we've been following you for the past year and a half. We love your stuff. We love your stories. We know exactly how your stuff is built. We love that. We appreciate that. And we feel like we've known you for the past year. So when you go into somebody's house and that's what they're saying to you, it's like you feel like you just got that job because they've known you for the past year. And that was kind of amazing. I just started doing stories about 4 or 5 months ago, and it's really developed into something pretty special. I mean, I've actually had 6 guys that have contacted me who want to work for me because they've seen our work. They see the stories. I mean, most of them are actually out of state, so I couldn't realistically bring those guys in and pay them what they want. But Instagram's powerful. So if you're not using it to its full force, like, it's free.
You're basically a celebrity, man.
No, dude.
Yeah. You know, it is too, though, because I mean, what drew us to getting you on this podcast, obviously your designs and your work and your portfolio, but you know, just with your stories is your personality. Again, you said it feels like I've known you for over a year. We hung out last night. You know what I mean? You didn't even know what we looked like until we
We
pushed
sat down
up
for
on you
2 hours.
yesterday.
It flew. I mean, it's cool talking to guys that are in the industry, because it's not like talking to your wife or
Right.
And it's
your
that
cousin.
trust.
You could just have a normal conversation. It's great being able to talk about the industry day in and day out.
And it's that trust factor with your customers. You know, when they can see you on a day-to-day, and then they get to know your personality, and when you go to meet them and you're presenting a big project, it's just that much easier because they already kind of know who you are.
Exactly. And I actually don't like the stories. I'm actually a reserved. I'm actually a quiet person. Like, I have to really force myself to put that phone in front of my face. Like, I'll make like 3 or 4 different stories. Like, I don't like that X. Let's do a new one. But
Well, yeah, we had a great time with you, man. I just really appreciate you sitting down and just getting to know each other a little bit more. And the nice thing about it was we were here at Aquascape, and it was a good thing because we're all learning at the same time, you know. And I could just see you growing and growing, and that's what I want to do.
yeah, well, I appreciate y'all having me on. It's really, truly an honor, you know, just to be in this business about a year and to be asked to talk about something you don't feel like you know 100%. So I think what y'all are doing for the industry is huge. I mean, there's a lot of guys that, like you said before Instagram, we didn't know what was going on in New York, in LA, in Florida. So props to y'all. So thanks for doing this. This is big.
Thanks you.
man. Thanks
Appreciate
for sitting down.
Absolutely.
We had a great time.
Absolutely.
Hopefully we'll meet up again in the future, and maybe we'll get you on again at some point.
Get a Chicago hot dog.
Yeah, the Chicago hot dog. That's our favorite thing about traveling. You know, we just get to taste all the good food. But we oh, wait a minute. Yeah, can we end this? Ben, what was the vote on the Chicago pizza and the New York pizza?
Deep dish better of Lost. Chicago pizza won, you're telling me? The deep dish won.
What did y'all do?
I don't know. We did on Instagram. We did a vote. What was better, Chicago or New York? So we're waiting for the final results.
I thought it was deep dish or New York style. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Then
The winner right now is 57% deep dish.
Get out of here. It blows my mind too. There's just no way.
Chicago deep dish.
I don't associate like. I don't know what New York style pizza is. Like I wouldn't have known if I wasn't watching that Barstool guy. Like Chicago, I know because it's deep dish. But
who wants to wait 50 minutes for your pizza to cook?
Yeah, I
don't like waiting 10 minutes for my pizza.
Yeah, I mean, you can get on like a pizza oven. Like we sell a lot of pizza ovens. Yeah. It takes you 90 seconds.
For God's sakes, you got the brick oven pizzas. They cook them in under a minute. Now I gotta wait 50 minutes for a pizza.
Okay, so now you're a designer, you're a father, you're a social media marketing guy, you're a builder, and now you gotta wait an hour for a pizza.
Unbelievable.
There's no way.
no.
Thanks, Richard. We appreciate it.
Oh
buddy.
yeah, man. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.